Hey everyone, welcome to the show, My So-Called Fabulous. I'm Tiffany. Welcome everyone. I am sitting in the Dallas studios of RNCN. So excited to bring this fabulous woman into the show today, or here at the show. And D'Andra Simmons has agreed to come on the show, and welcome, D'Andra Simmons.
Thank you, Tiffany. I appreciate you inviting me.
Oh my goodness, it's so nice to talk to you on the podcast. I met you a couple of months ago at an event here in Dallas.
Well, we just never stop talking. It's like we've been friends forever.
It just keeps going. We could podcast forever.
Like we had to stop talking to turn on the start the podcast.
I know. Andrew had to say, okay, I'm ready to start now. But welcome to the show. And I'm in your neck of the woods here,
Yes.
usually in Fort Worth.
I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This beautiful studio. And if you're watching, follow along on YouTube. We are open and on our channel and just having all our fabulous podcasts on YouTube. So you have a YouTube channel.
I do. It's more focused on cooking. And I did do a podcast for a while. However, I kind of, Amy Vanderoff and I did it together, and she kind of wanted to change her life. She got married and she's happy. So I put that on hiatus while I started my culinary career. And I went to culinary school at Dallas College and enjoyed myself. But I was getting up at 4 a.m. and working the rest of the day. It was hard, but it was worth it.
It is. And when D'Andra and I met, I had heard through the grapevine that you were in the culinary world, and I'm a chef. I went to TCU, and I went to culinary school out on the East Coast at Johnson and Wales, and that was tough. I thought TCU was tough. No, culinary school, it's a beating. It is. It's fabulous, but it's a beating. But it's a lot. So I love watching your culinary career unfold. We both have a passion for beauty and fitness and food. So that is a connection. Many connections that we have.
Well, I'm hoping to ramp up Simply Simmons a little bit more. I've been, like I said, on hiatus. We moved, which was a process in itself. And I really enjoy live fire cooking. So working with the pulley system, making whether we're hanging tomahawk steaks.
Yes.
Or I did a whole hog. I told you that at Memphis in May. In a smoker, we won 10th, which means I got to walk the stage.
Goodness.
I was so excited to walk the stage. My first time ever to cook there. And I was in charge of seasoning and injecting the hog. So, and we still got to place. So that was, maybe this is my future. I don't know. We don't do a lot of hog in Texas,
I was telling you yesterday when we were chatting, when I started my culinary career, I was working for Southern Living and a lot of publications. And I started working, I was executive chef for the beef industry.
Yes,
and
we talked about that. I love that.
Yes. And so goodness gracious, it's been, my daughter was 3. So about 20 years ago, I started working with them. And it was just not acceptable for girls to be on a grill. I mean, and I did a series called Girls Gone Grilling. The girls took me very serious. The guys didn't, not so much, but
what's funny is I believe I saw that because I actually did research for a female barbecue show, and I had to do comps of what shows had been done by women.
Yep.
That's how I knew about your show because I presented, and there's not much.
Not a lot. Not a lot.
There's not a lot of grilling, barbecuing. So I presented all those shows to make the point of there's not enough women out there that are being highlighted in that part of the industry.
And it's tough enough being a chef in a restaurant as a female. It's tough enough.
Oh yeah.
Now go out into the barbecue pits is a different story too. So, okay, our love for food, and I know you all want to know this, and we're going to go ahead and cut through the chase because my guilty pleasure is Housewives. It is.
I love it.
It is. It's my guilty pleasure. And this fabulous woman was on the Real Housewives of Dallas. And I watched every single episode a couple of times, of course. And we talked about this yesterday. And that show is ceased for now.
Mm-hmm.
They're tabling that for now. And I love Bravo. I love Andy Cohen. And I know you know him. Gosh, I just want to meet him. I'd be a fan.
He's fun. He's a lot of fun.
I
mean, he's a little bit, shady with the questions. but he has to do his job. So Housewives was, I think for people watching it, it's an escapism.
Right.
Because you look at the lives that we present on camera and they're so bizarre and out there and the fights and everything. And nobody really lives their life like that. I mean, I've had the same friends my whole life. So it's not, we don't sit around and do salacious things and gossip about people's husbands. But on the show, it's a formula. I told you yesterday, wash, rinse, repeat. Yeah. Every single housewife franchise pretty much has the same thing. We had the shaman, we had this, we had that, and everybody else did too on the other franchises. What I think is interesting about the Dallas franchise is Dallas women are not really keen on opening up their real lives. They want to keep that hidden. It's a very Southern thing. Atlanta and Potomac, however, are in on the joke. They understand what the joke is, meaning the formula, and then they move on from season to season. We're on hiatus, in my opinion, because we didn't know how to move on from one problem to the next from season 2 when I started. I didn't start season 1, not because I wasn't asked, but because I was cheering the UNICEF Gala, the Salvation Army Luncheon, and the Cancer Blows Gala. And I did not think it was fair for me to just say, oh, by the way, I'm going to be on a reality TV show now, because I needed to go and talk to the board. And I mean, that's a big thing for people not having a Housewives show in Dallas, and then to say your chair is going to be on a Housewives show. Are there going to be cameras? So I let that go. And I said, I'll decline for this year and I'll come back. I'll come next year. And then Cameron and I came on together. But the ladies, unfortunately, did not know how to leave a problem on the table at reunion and move on to another problem the next season. Oh. Also, we had some issues that were prevalent in every other Housewife franchise. And they just kind of caused the demise for the time being. And I do think, though, if they came back with a different cast, a varied cast, people would be open to it, because we were the Housewives that I say, we really interacted with our fans very well. And took the time, because we were kind of like the stepchild of the franchise. So
right.
We needed to. And we had a different production company. So if you look at the other Housewives shows, the productions are much bigger and much more expensive than what we had. We had a person, very nice guy, but this is his only show at the time. So, it's a different thing. So I think if they came back, which I was told, this is okay, this is very secret, and I will say it, it's not over yet, is what exactly I was told.
It's not over.
And that's what I was told from the higher ups, and the more higher ups than Bravo. It's not over yet. When I said, I told you I write thank you notes. I think we talked about this too.
Yes.
And so I always wrote a thank you note to Andy, to the president of NBC, to the president of Bravo, who's now left and is a consultant. And we're working on some things together, actually. But I went up to one of the people and I said, I just want you to know I really appreciate this opportunity. Yes, it was the hardest thing I ever did in my life, but it opened up these doors.
Yes.
You have to look at the golden ring and all the other things that are going to happen. Not, oh my God, I'm going through this right now. Well, you know what? Guess what? I'm getting exposure for my brands. And this is only a time and a season in my life. That's not the only thing I've done in my life. So make the most of it. And I went up and thanked this executive, and she said, it's
not over.
And that was not that long ago. So that's all I'm going to say.
That's all we're going to say. Okay. When the Housewives are casting, is that something you pitch yourself? Do they find you?
They find you.
They find you.
It's like the best private investigative system in the world is the casting for these shows.
They do.
You don't know how they get phone numbers and emails, and they creep on your social media. Yes, they will find you.
They'll find you.
And then for me, for instance, they were always asking me, who would you recommend? So I would go to different people and say, hey, do you want to audition? Some people would say no. I saw the list of, you would die if you saw the list of Dallas socialites. That audition did not get cast. It's very hard to get cast.
Wow.
And it's because about being transparent and opening up your stories in your life. And most people's husbands and kids don't want to be on camera. They don't want to talk about their issues. And that's what you have to do. It's difficult. You audition, and it's a long audition. So they come to your house first, they meet with you. And in my case, it was my mom, my husband. And we just sat down with the producer and the director, and then they would take us, I remember, an 8-hour interview in a hotel room.
Oh.
It was horrible. It was grueling.
Pressure.
And you sit in front of a camera for 8 hours, and they ask you every question about your life and what you would be willing to share and what you might be able to talk about and your relationships with the other women. Everything. You need to have something to do. I mean, I had a business. I had a lot of different things I was involved in. And of course, my mother and I have always had a very interesting relationship. They love that. I mean, she's like gold, reality TV gold.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I don't even have to open my mouth.
Everyone knows Dee Simmons. Everyone. Yeah. Right.
So, and she enjoys it. So for me, it was kind of like a slam dunk, because I had her and my husband who was completely fine with it.
Oh, good.
But yeah, you have to audition, and it's a grueling process.
It is what it is. So does everyone fight? Because right now there's a franchise, and I watch them all, but do they all really fight? I mean, it's almost too much in this one franchise, and I'm like, y'all, I mean, I'm going to sleep because I
wish they would lean more towards the comedy, which I believe that we did well. Brandy and Stephanie were very good at being the comedy team.
Yes.
I like that, but they like you to have conflict. And some of the things that I was having conflict besides my family with the other ladies. I didn't even know I was having a conflict until I walked into it. And it really kind of, it put you at uneasy. I remember the last season, I walked into basically a hornet's nest. Every single cast member attacked me about something that I thought innocently I was helping the other cast member, because the last season, Brandy had some issues with a video that had been released, and then we had an Asian cast member.
Yes.
So I had been interviewed by Page Six, and I said, that's the first thing they asked me if she addressed it. I said, you know what? I'm so proud of her. That's the first thing that happened, is they talked about it and got through it and moved on. Well, they made it into, I had released her information just to highlight myself, which is not at all what I did. And I think everybody knew that was not what I did, but then they went full bore against me being, trying to promote myself and making it about me and all that, which is not at all true.
Right.
So that really upset me, because I knew that they knew that wasn't the truth. And then, of course, they were bringing up, well, 4 years ago, you did this to me. I was like, what are you even talking about 4 years ago? I mean, so that was frustrating at every turn.
Right. And this is a large town, but it's not that large.
Yeah. And one person jumping on top of you, the other person jumping on top of you. I had to learn temperance, to be still and to not react. I'm a reactionary person. So the last season, I learned not to jump on people as much as I had in the past. Right. And that did me a lot of favors.
Right. Would you do it again?
Yes.
You would do it again. Okay. Yeah, because I think I know you're right. You've got the formula down.
I know how to do it now. The first 2 years, you have no idea what you're doing. And you're sitting on the floor crying because social media is so mean and people bully you all the time.
Why? Why are we
I still get it.
Ask women.
The last 2 days, I've had it. I mean, it's been horrible.
What?
One person didn't like my selfies, told me I wasn't near as famous as I think I am. I know what she's talking about. I'm like, I've never even said I was famous. What are you talking about? Just horrible stuff.
One of the cast members.
How ugly you are. Like, you're so ugly. I can't believe you're on camera. I mean, just it goes on and on.
One of the cast members, or just
no, just people. Oh, you're the worst dressed. That was last week. You're the worst dressed housewife of all time. I mean, just it was just. And I'm being real with you.
Okay.
I'm talking real with you. These people are mean, so mean.
So mean.
Nobody wants to watch an old woman work out. I've heard that. I mean, I said, well, obviously you do, because I have over 100,000 views on every single thing that I post. So,
yeah.
I mean, my workout videos are the most popular videos I post.
I mean,
these are what people say. I would never go on. I don't care if I couldn't stand a person.
Yes.
And say anything mean like that.
Ever. But I think people get behind a keyboard and they have this sense of authority and just empowerment to bring us down. And it's so troubling.
One of them, I said, with the one that said I was badly dressed, I said, well, I would really like to see what you look like, because you have a picture of a cartoon character and your cat. So you have never had I said a word, I'm not going to say that, to put any pictures of yourself up. So before you criticize me, why don't you put a picture of yourself up? Oh my gosh. Anyway, that was the end of that situation. They didn't respond, of course.
Of course, no, I know. Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned yesterday when we were talking, right fighters and people not being humble and full of grace. And I think we were talking about cast members as well, but why people always have to be right. I am assuming I'm watching just from my television in my pajamas, but like, how many are just trying to get their spot back the next year?
A lot of people are trying to get their spot back. And if you are not engaged and you don't have anything happening in your life, you are in danger of being cut.
Yeah.
So I think those shows, it does create that animosity and that fear. Oh my God, I got to do something because I have to be invited back, because they also, it's golden handcuffs. They pay you very well.
Right.
I mean, they pay you. So I've been an actor my whole life. They paid me better than I've ever gotten acting in any movie. It doesn't matter what it is, including the one I'm getting ready to do in Toronto, which I'm getting paid a very large amount. So that's where they keep you. They keep you with the golden handcuffs and the sponsorships and the this and the products and everything else and the interviews and all these different things that happen. And you have access to people that you never had access to before.
Exactly. And I said this to you as well, and I'm commending you. Your career before Housewives, I mean, you had a very, very, very a great career. You're a beauty entrepreneur, actress, public speaker, author, and of course we talk about our food passion. But you have just kept going and going. And I'm so proud of you, because I can't imagine that knocks you down, getting bullshit on social media like you're getting, but then knocking you down. But look, I am sitting here right now. Your skin is beautiful. I'm dying to try this, but your skincare, your mother had a skincare company.
She did. I created those products for her
You
over
created
25 years
those.
ago. So my mother, we talked about this, is a cancer survivor, 2-time cancer survivor.
Gosh.
Grandmother died of pancreatic cancer. My grandfather died of prostate cancer. My aunt had breast cancer twice. So I'm the only woman in my family that has not had cancer. We developed Ultimate Living was her vision after having cancer. She wondered why she got cancer because she was a model. She was a beauty queen. She was never sick. She was always a size 2 to 4. And all of a sudden she woke up with cancer one day. So then at that time she was in the fashion business, had a huge fashion career as a manufacturer's rep with luxury couture lines. She sold to Neiman's, to Lily Rubin, all these places in Dallas and all over the world or all over the country. And she quit that, closed her business. And then my dad took her. At that time, my dad was older. They were 13 years apart, around the world to find out, what are some things, complementary medicine, integrative medicine that would marry with the allopathic. She had a mastectomy. And that way maybe prevent her from future having a recurrence or things like that. So we learned about green foods and phytonutrients and antioxidants. Those things, CoQ10, I remember she had dinner with Dr. Cooper, the Cooper Institute.
Cooper's.
And he was sitting back, he goes, D, I have something new to tell you about. She goes, oh, really? What is that? He goes, CoQ10. She goes, yeah, I've been taking it for like 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
So, and now doctors are more open to doing, complementary things and treatments in addition. But we went to Mexico, had it was stem cells before people were doing stem cells.
Wow.
We had live cell therapy. We had Rhodochem. We had our blood taken out of our body, put back in through the filter system. Yeah. It was just, this was years ago before we went to the institutes in Tijuana that you can't really go to now because it's so dangerous.
Right.
But before the cartel was taking over everything. We went to Germany. We went all over the place. I went to this place. Okay, you want a funny story? So Michio Kushi wrote a book, Your Face Never Lies, and he was the father of the macrobiotic diet.
Yes.
So we went up to his place in, I believe it's in Massachusetts, in the middle of the woods, like a hippie commune,
Right.
to meet with him, and he's supposed to look at you and tell you what's wrong with you. So we're sitting in there, and he comes in. He's this older Asian man, but he keeps leaving. And he's leaving like every 15 minutes. We're like, and I'm a curious kid. So I was like in college or something. Like, where's this guy going? I walk out. He's smoking pale male cigarettes on the back of the porch. And I'm thinking, I go, Mom, he's smoking cigarettes. We have to leave. We left.
You left.
We left. Because, if you're smoking cigarettes, the pale males or whatever they're called, and, and then you're telling us what we're doing wrong and how to prevent cancer, something wasn't adding up for me.
Something's not adding up.
Yeah.
Here.
So that's a funny one. My dad said, "Don't ever do this to me again." To both of us, we got in so much trouble. We had to fly the plane up there and this whole 9 yard, get the pilots. He was so mad at us.
Oh no! And that's the thing. I'm sure there is shady business in that industry too. Still, you think?
Well, no. Okay. So going through labs and being the person to develop the products for my mother, and I went to naturopathic doctor's school. So her green food product she developed before I came along.
Wow.
But then I reformulated it several times. So I've been to all the labs. We have that. We have aloe vera. We have Miracle Pain Cream. We have Orac, which is an antioxidant drink. So, and especially liquids and powders, you have to kind of keep on top of those labs and make sure that everything is done right. You have to check for E. coli viruses. So many things nowadays. So I got to know labs and testing products myself, what that meant. And then I developed the skincare, natural aloe vera based skincare, because the skin is the largest body organ. And I wanted to make sure that if we were people were saying, because we were on Christian television, my mother was a pioneer in nutrition on Christian TV. And I would be there with my little lab coat, and I was the product knowledge specialist, where she was more of the evangelist.
Okay.
And she was ordained by Oral Roberts.
Really?
Yes, I believe in her 40s or 50s. I can't remember. But I was not real comfortable with the preaching on the Christian TV, but I was really comfortable talking about the product.
Sure. Right.
And that's what I did. So we did that for years and years, and we were the nutrition TV ladies. But I got to meet a lot of people in the industry and tour a lot of labs. Get to know a lot of things, what's good and bad. So there are some things that are, you have food grade and you have pharmaceutical grade. We always made pharmaceutical grade products, but you're not required to. Right. But the skincare was something people would say, oh, I love this Green Miracle, or I love that you know about nutrition, but what are you putting on your skin?
Right.
What they didn't understand is that the skin, being largest body organ, it's a combination of putting inside your body the proper nutrients and nutrition with the green foods and antioxidants and eating properly, eating well. But then outside, complementing that with natural aloe vera based skincare, because aloe vera is the delivery of nutrients to the cellular level. So if you're putting aloe vera products, most products have water as the first ingredient. We have aloe. Aloe will then penetrate versus evaporate. If you leave water outside in Texas sun in the hot summer, it's going to evaporate. Aloe vera penetrates. So that's always my foundation, unless I make an oil product. And then I build botanicals and actives on top of that. And my products are amazing and superior. I'm just still a little company, and brand awareness and competing with the big majors is hard, but I'm not going to give up. And we just won a huge award, which I can't tell you what it is, but it's with this product, people.
Yes, everybody.
Amino Bright. Yeah. And this is when I developed, I believe it was last year, the end of the year before, and it's a resurfacing product. So November, I will be able to tell I don't know when this is going out, but at the end of the year, let's say at the end of the year, I will be able to talk about it and tell what the award is. But it's a huge award. So get your Amino Bright now. It's a resurfacer. It's a brightener. It's a skin tightener. It makes your skin firm. It will help reduce age spots. It's like the one-stop shop. And I have a unique ingredient called DCS Cell Complex, which is my initials. So
that is a fabulous. I can't wait to try this, because I'll try anything.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
I know.
I'm excited about it.
I love it. And the packaging is fabulous.
Thank you.
So beautiful. Everyone take a peek at this. Go, if you're watching on YouTube. I love this so much. Okay. I'm sure you have this through e-commerce, but are you in stores? Where are you? Where can they find these?
So we have a few products since the beginning. I started in 2008 in Whole Foods, but they're just very limited. You're not going to find my expensive products because they get stolen. And when I say expensive, we're talking like $83. I mean, it's not like we're not talking hundreds of dollars, but they are stolen off the shelf. So they only have a few moisturizers, maybe a cleanser, some toner, things like that. Besides that, my husband's a veteran, and he was in the military in the Air Force for 22 years, and he's the only 7-time military photographer of the year. So he's pretty famous in the military.
He's
won everything but a Pulitzer. So, I do not want him going abroad right now to get a Pulitzer. So we're trying to prevent that. But so because of the military background in our family, being veterans, we are in AAFES, which is now called the Base Exchange. So everyone on the military bases can buy my products. I do trunk shows there. Because they're military, they get a discount. So we sell to them. I also do a little bit of they have their little HSN kind of military shows that I do. We sell there. We are in talks with some major retailers, especially because of this. But I had the situation where the pandemic, I was just getting ready to go into a lot of luxury department stores, and then we had the pandemic. So in 2008, when I started my line, I had one product, and then there was a recession. So I've just been climbing uphill ever since then. I sell a lot of products online, Amazon as well.
Right.
Some spas and salon. We're launching in the Dallas area in BitCare. I've been in Bam Beauty Bar for a while. There's some little, salons. I'm also going to probably be in some casinos. So Hard Night Good Morning is a great name for a casino product.
Name. Yeah, I was just saying
skincare product in a casino.
Y'all, it's Hard Night Good Morning. And this Amino Bright that I have in front of me is the cutest little bee with a crown on it, of course.
Well, that's another housewife story. So when we were doing the show, there was one person that accused me of wanting to be the queen bee of the show. And unlike the other women, I had been in production my whole life. I knew what they wanted. I knew that it was an ensemble cast. Otherwise, it would be called the D'Andra Simmons Show, and it was not. So I knew that each person was on this show for a unique purpose, just like God created us all for a unique purpose, because we brought a certain different personality to the show. However, that didn't stop them from accusing me of trying to be the queen and trying to be the matriarch and trying to be this. I mean, I am the oldest person, but so matriarch I got, but the queen, no, I didn't want to be the queen. I tried to explain this over and over, but once again, it made a good storyline.
Right.
So I thought, if you're going to accuse me of trying to be queen bee, I'm going to use this logo for the rest of my life. So, and that's how I got it for Hard Night Good Morning. I said, I'm going to put the bee in the crown, and it's all over my house now. I have fabrics. I have I have bracelets. I have jewelry. I love it.
Oh my goodness.
And
I
this
love it.
person meant it for bad, but it turned into good for me.
It did.
Sometimes people mean,
Yeah,
things for evil or ill will, and then you turn into something.
You can monetize it. It's fabulous. I think it's beautiful. I can't wait to try this. So you also, your incredible career acting. I mean, you've been an actress and you've been on Broadway, you've been in theater, you've been on film, Lifetime, so many different facets of acting. So that started when you were 5, you told me.
I started as a singer, actually. My mother put me in these singing programs, and I did the singing, the dancing, and the acting.
Do you like to sing?
I do. I'm probably not as good as I used to be.
Right.
Your voice changes.
It does change. Everything changes.
And as you get older as a woman, your voice really changes.
Yes.
I studied with the Lyric Opera in Chicago. I studied with a person that was Tito Gobi's muse. She was amazing, Bailey Abati. And my parents weren't really keen on the opera. They're not really keen on the performing arts.
Right.
So it was very frustrating for me because I wanted so bad to go to RADA or to go to Juilliard, and I had the talent, but I didn't have the support behind me.
Right.
So the compromise was I go to this college, small women's college in Virginia, and I got a degree in political science and theater.
Wow.
And acting, I'm glad because acting is something that doesn't pay well in general.
Right.
If you're an actor, you have a hard time living. You have to have 5 jobs unless you become famous, which is very, very, very rare.
Sure.
However, if you get to play at it and enjoy it throughout your life, different times, and you really love it, you have to love it.
Yes.
Because when I was younger, I was starving. I took a duffel bag at $1,000 to New York. My parents didn't support me after I graduated to be an actor. And I had a few pairs of jeans and a few shirts. And I was so poor that I had to walk to my restaurant that I was working at. I couldn't even afford the subway. And I was living in a place that was $173 a week, that had a sink and a twin bed, and the bathroom was down the hall.
Oh my goodness.
And it was back in Hell's Kitchen before they cleaned it up. So you'd walk out the front door and there would be, needles and all kinds of stuff. I mean, That's all I could afford.
Right.
So, and then I was modeling as well. And then I was going to auditions. I quickly learned that because I was a theater actor, I got my equity card here at Casa Manana in Fort Worth.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So theater in the round. Which is another unique experience. But I realized when I got there, I didn't have an agent. You were waiting in line to audition. You had to be a really, really good singer. There's not a lot of acting there because they want the singing and the dancing and the acting. So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to take a little break. And then I went to LA. It was not my time or my place. Martin Giroux, who produced Terms of Endearment, he found Marlene Dietrich, Audrey Hepburn, Ava Gardner, all these people. He just said to me, he said, D'Andra, if you had come to me in the 40s or 50s, I would have made you a star because you've got the talent and you had the look for back then. I was curvy. I'm still curvy. That was not what they wanted in the 80s and 90s. They wanted falling over, emaciated, needing a cracker. It didn't matter how skinny I was. And I've always had, we talked about this weight problem my whole life, but I was skinny because I wasn't eating. And it just wasn't my time. He said, it's not your time. You're not going to make it.
Wow.
It's not your talent. He said, but keep at it. Keep studying. One time and one day the tables will turn.
Okay.
And you will have your opportunity. He was right.
He was right.
So, and I've studied with this acting coach in Dallas since I've been back, who's amazing. Her name is Deborah Stone. She's also a producer. And she introduced me to some really important people in the industry. I can't really talk about one of the roles on stage next year.
That's right.
Yeah, but because of her.
And got something coming up. Well, that is wonderful. But you get to fill your cup. I mean, that's your passion and your passion.
And I also had the big movie I met through my husband has a podcast called Last Letters.
Oh, wow.
Tomorrow was your last day on earth. What would your last letter be? And one of his people he interviewed had been victim of a serial killer in Toronto. So they made a little short film, and then they're making the feature film, and I auditioned for the main female role, and I got the part.
Wow.
So that's next year. That's with Ryan Reynolds, Seth Rogen, Victor Garber, who is my favorite actor ever.
Really?
He was in Argo. He was in Suits. He was in Titanic. He played the captain. And I've always been enthralled with his acting ability. It's amazing. And then Wentworth Miller from Prison Break. So those are the ones. And there's another actor I can't remember from Black Panther that is going to be in there as well. So, but it's mostly men and 2 female parts. And I play the best friend of the serial killer. And I don't know that he's a serial killer.
What timing, because true crime is it.
Yeah.
It is it.
It is. And that's what they're looking for at networks, believe it or not, because I've pitched a lot of things. They said, if you have true crime, I'm thinking, well, I don't know a lot of people that are rap killing people, but let me think about this.
No, I know, right? I know, I get it. Okay. I have to ask this because my husband, his company, family owned, he worked for his family, he worked with his brothers, successful, sold their company. But I love my family. I don't think I could work with my family. What is your advice? Because you have worked with your mother extensively. My daughter works with me. What kind of advice can you give and share with people that do or are thinking about working with their family?
I think the most important thing that I didn't have, and I wish I had, but we were getting ready to implement it when my father passed away suddenly in Las Vegas. He had a heart attack on a business trip. And the Monday he left and he never came home, we were in the garage and he looked at me, he said, I love you. And he kissed me on the cheek and he said, we'll talk about what we're going to do when I get home. And that meant the company, if I was going to separate or keep on. And then he died. And from then, my mom really didn't pay a lot of attention to it. So I wish that when I had come on board in 2004, we had a strategy, an exit plan, very clear, how many years until you retire and what I'm supposed to do. And our marketing plan, we never really had a marketing plan. My mom was the marketing plan. So it was very frustrating for me because I had been in the government. I worked at Saks as an executive, 175 employees. We had to have marketing plans. We had to have implementation. We had to have rules and regulations. You just didn't do what you wanted to do. I got real frustrated, and she'll say I didn't work a lot. That's true, because every time I would present something to them, it was poo-pooed or you don't know what you're doing, or because it was all about her and her strategy and her being the television personality. But that, because I didn't want to continue on Christian TV, there was nothing for me after. So what I would give people advice, if they really want to stay in a family business, you're going to have to eat some humble pie. Right fighting is not going to work. What I told you before.
What we were talking about.
I said yesterday to you, sometimes winning leaves you wanting. Yeah. That's very true in my life with my mom. Sometimes I wish I had not fought her for different things, because at the end, even if I was right or I won, it didn't matter, because it destroyed our relationship.
That's right.
But the most important thing is the plan, 5, 10, 20 years, whatever it is. Have that plan, stick to that plan, execute that plan. And then there's really not any, and don't kind of, vacillate from that, or don't veer off that. Because it frustrates everyone, and your employees included. And then they see the tension in the office. They don't like that. They see the fighting. They start worrying about whether or not they're going to have a job, who's going to be in charge. I mean, those things are very real. And that went on in our office. And I feel bad for those employees that had to see the tension and the animosity. So those are my advice points.
Because I do hear that quite a bit. And
or divide and conquer too. Have a specific role you're going to do. Maybe you're the accountant. Maybe you're the marketing person. Maybe you're in charge of P&L statements. I don't know what it is, but
stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. Maybe your customer service. I mean, I was always like my mother, a salesperson. So I knew how to do, not as good as her, but I knew how to do it differently and effectively, but not as good as her, because my mom has no education. She built an empire 2 times with no education.
No education.
Yeah. And bought her paid cash for her Rolls Royces and everything else. And my dad, she's like, do you want to go get a car today? He goes, what do you mean? What are you going to pay for it? She was like, I could write a check. I mean, he didn't even know that she was so successful. So, my mother is I call it a scrapper. She grew up on the street and knew how to make things happen.
Exactly.
Because she had to. She had to.
Right. And you have to look at the different generations, the great generations, the Gen X, the Gen Zs, and the millennials. We all think differently, and we all have gifts. The great generation, my husband's parents, just went to war.
World War II generation.
Yes, exactly.
It's an amazing generation in the world.
Amazing. And so I think it's respecting each of those, definitely. My mother's deceased, and I wish I had asked her so many questions, so I always tell people, ask questions.
I learned a lot from my mom. My husband calls me Curious George, because I do ask too many questions. In fact, I went to dinner last night with somebody who's like, you're really curious, aren't you? But I know things,
I know. Well, I'm telling you, you have had such an incredible career and continue to have this career. I mean, of all of your pillars, beauty, acting, public speaking, author, and foodie, I'm going to call it foodie, we're that for sure in the Chef's Guild. But what is your favorite?
My favorite is the creative process, whether it be performing arts, acting, or creating a new dish, or sharing my love of food with people, which food brings people together, and it gives you a sense of comfort and welcoming and warmth. And that's my love gift, is making a meal for you and inviting you to my house.
Yes.
And at Thanksgiving, I'll have 30 people. Same thing, Christmas time. Anybody that doesn't have a place to go, they come to my house.
That's me.
Love it.
That's
love it.
me. Yeah.
So those two things are my real passions. And then I love the beauty industry because I know so much about it, and I have the background in nutrition. And it's something that I know I'm very familiar with, and I know back and forth, so backwards, like back of my hand. So there's so many things I'm passionate about, but I think at this time in my life, continuing on what makes you happy.
Yes.
And not just thinking of yourself, but if you're not happy with yourself, you're not going to be able to help other people. Mm-hmm. And I have done a lot of things in my life that didn't make me happy, and I wish I could go back and redo that. And now I'm learning that. I had this conversation with someone last night. I'm learning that I have to be happy in order to help others be happy and make effective change in the world, whether it be through organizations I work with, like Mercury One, where I go overseas to help women and children that have been trafficked or have been victims of.
Yes.
I went to save women from ISIS. I've been in the Middle East. I mean, there's a lot going on right there. Been in the middle of it, and very dangerous. I could have been kidnapped, and but just make your choice of how do you help other people, but how do you help yourself first?
Absolutely.
In order to help other people.
You and I are in our 50s, and that younger version of myself, I do look back and just cringe, but it's made me who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't like her very much, but now, falling in love with yourself and being happy. Absolutely.
That's true. Falling in love with yourself is a great way to put it. And I was never in love with myself. I always thought I was unattractive, overweight, not smart enough, not this enough, not that enough. And that's just not true.
No.
So
that younger person couldn't handle these bullies on social.
Right.
Bring it. Well, this has been such fun to get to know you better and all the work that you're doing for Dallas and beyond. And I'm just so proud of you. And I cannot wait till November, the end of the year, to hear this announcement of what's going on with your skincare. And
well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on. I had a wonderful time. We have lots in common, and I'm sure we'll stay close friends.
Absolutely. Now, how can we find you?
You can find me at D'Andra Simmons on Instagram, Facebook, and also Twitter. Which is X now, I guess it's called.
X, yeah.
Hard Night Good Morning is the name of my skincare company, also on social media. And Ultimate Living D is actually on Instagram. But Ultimate Living, Hard Night Good Morning, D'Andra Simmons, all the good stuff. And then I also have a website, D'Andra Simmons website, that's new, that's being worked on. So don't judge the photos, people.
And make sure you follow along on YouTube. She is Simply Simmons, and you'll see some of her fabulous cooking. Yes, can I come over someday and you make your meatloaf for me?
Yes,
I want to try that.
Simply Simmons is the YouTube. I just haven't worked on it in a while because we've been moving, but please follow along for fun recipes, and my mom might even be there a few times, and some celebrity chefs.
Thank you so much for coming. Everyone, thank you so much for listening and watching and following along, and everyone have a fabulous day. And you know what? Keep being fabulous.